Hi everyone, thank you for joining in on today's session here where we're going to be talking about Managed MOC, how Learn on Demand Systems is actually keeping the content up to date. My name is Kim Frank, and remotely from here I also have Linde Skinner, our Director of Operations. She is connected in remotely. For the next hour or so, we're going to be talking about how we created what's called the Managed MOC program and how that's actually being used to help us keep content up to date that is changing at a regular basis. So a couple of things that we're going to be talking about in today's session. So what exactly is this Managed MOC that we have created? How are we actually handling this content? How do we go in and maintain, keep this content up to date? How is this constantly evolving? How many courses is it that we are currently doing this with? What exactly does it mean? How can instructors, how can training centers help us keep improving content as things is changing? So we're going to start out with a few slides here where we're going to be talking about some of these things. Then we're going to go in and look at how we are actually handling it from the platform, what it is students can do, what it is instructors can do, and how we are managing the changes in the back end. So Managed MOC, or Managed Microsoft Official Curriculum, is really a way that we've taken in to start managing all the content for labs that contains the Microsoft Azure, the Microsoft Office 365 content. We know that the Azure, the Office 365, is constantly evolving. Things are changing at a regular schedule, whether it's weekly, daily, monthly. We really don't know when things are changing, but all of these changes can easily affect the MOC content that is being delivered around the world at classrooms and training centers every single day. So we created this Managed MOC program where we are essentially monitoring for those changes. We have instructors that are constantly monitoring, updating the content. We are very closely monitoring the Microsoft Learning GitHub repository where a lot of these changes are actually being stored. So a couple of things that we are doing. So I just mentioned the Microsoft Learning GitHub. Many of you might be familiar with this, but on the Microsoft Learning GitHub site, we now see a lot of these courses published. I just pulled up the github.com/Microsoft Learning website here, and on this site we have a lot of the different MOC courses located. Just the first course on the list is the 2533 course. We have, if I just keep scrolling through the list here, you'll see that there's quite a lot of different courses related to Microsoft Learning and MOC. So what we see inside of these courses is actually that Microsoft is publishing all the demo files, all the scripts, the lab manuals, and then this content will constantly be updated as changes are needed. As a part of our Managed MOC program, we actually go in and monitor that content. So is anything changing in these folders? Is anything being updated? Anything being added? Once that is happening, we actually take that information and we look at, okay, how does these changes affect students that are sitting in classes or students that are going to be attending the upcoming classes? Is it something that we need to incorporate into our platform? Is it a change within the virtual machines we are using? Is it a change within the published lab manuals that we have? So we have people that are monitoring these GitHub repositories for all of these types of changes, and then they're actually going into our platform on the fly and actually updating the content as changes are needed. And we actually just had somebody posting a question here. How often are we doing these updates? So what we've actually done is that we have people that are assigned to specific courses, and those people go in daily, weekly, and they actually monitor those changes. So when that happens, then they are going to go into the back end of our system and actually update and maintain that content. Now, as we know, changes can happen at any time. So I'm looking at the 2533 here, but they could have updated it just 2 minutes ago. So there's a couple of things we need to do in the process. Just because something is updated in there, we need to evaluate that. What effect does it have on current deliveries? What effect will it have on upcoming deliveries? Is it just a nice to have update, or is it a critical update? But we're trying to get these updates in there as quickly as possible. So content stays up to date, it stays relevant, and at the end, the instructors do not have to sit there and troubleshoot. Why did that suddenly change? I was teaching this course last week, but now it's different. Something has changed, and I don't know. I need to go troubleshoot all of that. So we are really trying to keep that content up to date so the instructors know they can go into the class, they can teach their content, they know that the students can sit down, go through those labs, and end up having a successful learning experience where they're not spending time figuring out troubleshooting changes, but the content that they're using is actually kept up to date. When those students come back later on, after the class is over, they're reviewing their materials, they will continue to see that updated content as well. So in GitHub, if I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna grab one of the courses here, I just took a random course here, and this is actually a really good example. I just said somebody could have updated the course, you know, a minute ago or an hour ago, and there's actually updates to this course here to the instructors, to the instructions just an hour ago. And you can see there's a lot of different updates. Something was 14 days ago, something was 20 hours ago, something was 6 days, an hour ago. Things are constantly changing and evolving in these courses as Azure and Office 365 is changing. Features are getting released, menus are getting changed, things are moving around. So all of that information is being monitored. And what we are doing is we actually have subject matter experts that are MCTs that are monitoring each one of those courses. So we have MCTs that are teaching this particular course here on a regular schedule. That person is actually assigned to go in and monitor all of these changes, making sure that it's up to date. So it's actually people that know this content, that are familiar with it, that has delivered the content many times. So in here we have a lot of different types of informations. I'm just going to go into this instructions that was just updated. And in here you can actually see how random it is. Different labs are getting updated at different times. So Lab 10 was updated a day ago, Lab 9 was 2 days ago, Lab 11 was just fixed 18 hours ago. So things are totally changing. We are taking all of these changes and we are incorporating those into our platform where the content is integrated as what we call integrated digital learning or IDL content, which I'll show you just a little bit later on. So this is constantly being monitored. Changes that are affecting the experience of the students are the changes that we are actually implementing into our platform. We want to make sure those students sit down and have a successful learning experience when they come to class. Now, monitoring this is just one way of ways that we are actually incorporating changes into the platform. We also have the option to have both instructors and students actually providing feedback during the class as well. So we have, and I'm just gonna go in and launch a lab, which I've already done. So I just launched one of the labs for one of the MOC courses here. And this lab here is in what we call this IDL format, where we actually have all the steps fully published over on the left side. So the students might have got, whether it's a printed manual or a digital copy of the manual, but yesterday those updates were done in GitHub, or last week there were updates done. What we're actually doing is we're taking those steps and we're actually integrating them into the platform itself. So over on the right side, you will actually see all of these steps. Exercise 1, sign in to Azure. So log on to the virtual machine as a student. The next step would actually say, click on the start screen, click the Internet Explorer, log into Azure with your live ID. So all of these steps are located in the system here. And so instead of students following the manuals or trying to follow what's on GitHub, we have the steps in here. So we have the task listed on the right side. We have the detailed steps listed at the bottom of the screen. So the same experience, if there are any screenshots associated with it, they would be available as well. So the screenshots, in this case, because I'm at the screen that says create the Microsoft account, we're at the logon screen. There is a knowledge advisor as well. If you see a pop-up for Skype for Business, don't click enable. So there is a lot of those features incorporated into the platform itself. And we can return to the tasks. Now, because this is task-based here, I'm actually, as the student now, clicking when I'm done. And you can see how it's actually tracking in the lower right corner that right now I've done 3 out of 25 tasks. So not only do we get this great experience where all the steps are incorporated into the platform, but we're actually also able to do some metrics now on what are students doing? How far do they actually get in a lab? Do students actually complete 100% of the labs? If they don't, where do they stop? Do they stop at task number 3? Do they stop at task number 40? Where exactly and why? You know, when we are monitoring this kind of information and we start seeing, hey, in this particular course, in this lab here, it looks like only 80% of students actually get to step 100. Why are the last 20% not going to the end? Or why is it the other way around? Maybe only 20% says they complete it, but 80% only get to step 25. Then we can go in and look at, okay, step 25, is there anything we need to improve there? Is there incorrect information? Is there not enough information? Is there anything that needs to be clarified, changed? So those students don't get stuck at that step. Now, when a student do get stuck, or if there's something that doesn't work, one of the new features that we actually have enabled for these Managed MOC courses, you'll see in the lower right corner as well, and it's actually called Report a Bug, or Report a Bug. And in here, the student actually have the option to, the student or the instructor, whoever is doing the lab, actually have the option to go in and fill out this form. So I'm just going to put in here that I'm doing a tap. But what did I actually do to reproduce the step? Try to log on to Azure. I forgot my password. Not really a bug, but quite often we might see something like that. That's really a bad example. The menu called ABC is no longer there. What did you expect to see? I expected to find a menu. What went wrong? I couldn't find it. Or it could be that you are executing a PowerShell script against Azure, but something has changed, so now that PowerShell script no longer works. But students have the option to fill out all of this information, and in the bottom of it, it actually says include a screenshot. And because of my screen resolution here, you can't actually see my submit button, but it's actually located there as well. I zoomed in so it was easier for everyone to see this. So we actually collect all of that information, and that is something else that the instructor who is monitoring this session is actually able to go and look at as well. What feedback was actually submitted during the classes? Is there any of that feedback that we can take into consideration when we're looking at how can we improve the user experience? How can we improve this course? So we are actually tracking all of that information through our platform as well. So we have this where it's called, we call it the bug reporting, but quite often it might just be bugs. It might also just be improvements that people are asking for. So we actually have the option to go look at this type of information. So somebody here has submitted something that says cannot log on to the internet in the student VM. In Module 9, they say they're unable to log on to the internet. Now, we only have one report for this specific course that says that. So it's one of those that we're going to go investigate, but if we've had classes running with many students in for this course, it's a little bit strange that only one student was experiencing this issue. Also, all the labs that we have as a managed course is something that all the courses that we're using as the managed course also goes through, of course, full testing before they're published. So we're not releasing a managed MOC that hasn't been tested, that hasn't been vetted and working from the beginning. So, so when it's out there, we know it's working, and we're keeping these courses up to date on a regular basis. As I mentioned, this is a fairly new program. We just started it not long ago. And we do have quite a few number of courses that we're actually including in this Managed MOC. And we're constantly evolving and adding more courses. Those courses that we're adding might, somebody is asking here, how do we go about deciding what course to be managed? There's a couple of things that we're actually looking at. First of all, any courses with Azure and Office 365 are of course the one that's constantly changing. So those are the prime candidates to be Managed MOC, and those are really the ones that we're focusing on. Then we go in and look at the course themselves. Is it a very popular course? What's the titles of it? Is it something that we know a lot of people will benefit from? Then we're going to look at including that into the program of the Managed MOC. We're looking at other things quite often. We actually have people that are saying, hey, is there any way that we can turn this into a Managed MOC? Because we're getting a lot of feedback from instructors that it's really difficult to keep up to date on all the changes that is happening for a certain course. By doing these Managed MOCs, those instructors can now shift their focus from, hey, what has changed this week? How do I need to troubleshoot that? To actually just focus on delivering the content, knowing that those labs are actually working when students are sitting down and going through them. There's two types of troubleshooting really happening in a class like this. Is that the student did something wrong, or did something actually change? We are trying to take that did something change actually out of the picture. We want to make sure that we can focus on the students, that if they're running into problems, the instructors knows that, okay, I should start looking at what step did the student have missed? Did they type something wrong, etc. So, so we do have instructors, Microsoft certified trainers that are actually teaching these courses, that are monitoring all of this content, whether it's from the GitHub, whether it's from bugs submitted, and also tickets that come in through our help desk. So if anybody is emailing us, calling us, contacting us on Skype and say, hey, I'm having problems in this course, all of that is getting logged, and the instructors who is managing that particular course will get access to that information. So they're looking at everything coming in from all the different angles, and then they're going to make sure that those courses are kept up to date and maintained. So, so what courses do we actually have available? So here is the list of the courses, and as you can see, we're really focusing on the Microsoft Azure and Office 365 Skype for Business. So of course the 10979, the Microsoft Azure Fundamentals, very popular course out there. It's one of our Managed MOC titles. The Core Solutions of Skype for Business 2015 is one of our Managed MOCs. We have the Enabling and Managing Office 365, Deploying the Azure Solutions. I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but this is the list of all the courses that are currently our Managed MOC titles. We are going to be sharing that list of courses with both instructors and training centers, and we're going to make it easy for them to always know when they're locking on, the instructor is teaching a course, they're going to be able to see, is this one of the Managed MOCs or not? Training centers are going to be able to, CPLSs are going to be able to get those Managed MOC information as well. So quite a few courses on the list now, and as I said, it's going to keep expanding as the program is moving on. Now, I don't know if we still have Linde on the call here. She might have some things to add. Are you still on the call, Linde? We did have some.
I'm here.
She's there. So we did have some technical issues earlier on, so her sound was cutting out. So, but she is back now. So, Linde, anything to add? Anything to interject?
No.
And there goes her sound again. So it was a good try, but is there any question from the audience right now? It was a very short presentation, but it's pretty straightforward. Managed MOC, we're really just doing it to help all the instructors, to help the students that are taking these courses that are constantly changing and evolving on a daily basis, just to keep up with all the changes in Azure, Office 365, out there. So yeah, I hope that's something that you can take back, you can actually use in your environments. And as I said, we're going to be communicating all this information out to the instructors, to the CPLSs that are delivering these courses on a regular basis. So that was really it. We're going to hang around here for a few minutes. And if there is any questions, just type them in. There's normally a small delay in here, so we'll hang around for a few minutes to answer any questions. But thank you for taking the time to join in. And we do actually have a question here. Is there an increased cost for Managed MOC? And I don't know if we have Linde back, if that is something that she is going to be able to answer. And we don't have sound. So I honestly don't know the question for that. It is something that we are currently doing for courses that are being delivered. So let me just see if I can get somebody on the line to answer the question there. We should have a couple of folks on the call to actually answer questions. So sorry about that, but I really don't know the answer for that.
There are no additional costs with the Managed MOC program.
There we go. So no, there is no cost for using the Managed program. It is something that we are doing. And so yeah, for all of those courses that's already in place there, it is actually those courses that you would be using. And any other questions out there? And Phyllis is adding a few additional comments there. We've not yet worked through the price model, but we have not been charging anything, and we don't plan to increase the cost on those. But as we are expanding this program and we're going to see how it evolves, how much time is actually going in to be managing, the course I just showed, it looks like they're making changes every single day to those courses. So it's something that we're constantly looking at as this program is expanding. So again, thank you for joining in. If there is any more questions, we'll hang around for just a few more minutes, but this is the end of the presentation.